Welcome, welcome! This video is going to be about the flirtatious aspects of frame control. Because you see, quite often when we talk about frame control or negotiating or controlling the conversation, it is quite often in a context with somebody like Andrew Tate, who is always using that in a very confrontational way. There are methods to use exactly the same techniques in a much more charming way, in a much more flirtatious way. And you may use that in dating with a woman, but you can also use that in many aspects of life where you need to charm people. This example right here is going to be about a rock star.
She'll be ready with me, she can't let
Somebody that I have actually modeled because I started singing practices about 1.5 years ago, and he is my main role model. And I found a pretty funny interview with a journalist that he was charming in some way. I guess it is just part of his character anyway, and it is just a playful encounter, so there is nothing like super dead serious about, oh, this is how you manipulate people. It is just a charming encounter, but you can learn a lot from it and know how you can turn a conversation around if the person you have in front of you is disagreeing or is not really going into your direction. The main idea is going to be to always bring back the person into your frame instead of following theirs.
Scheiße.
Don't swear.
And, pardon?
Don't swear.
I'm allowed to swear, it's my
No,
show.
you're not. No, you're not.
I'm fucking allowed to fucking swear in my shit show.
Think of all the kids.
There
Think
aren't
of the
any
influence.
kids watching.
Yeah.
They're 18 and over.
No, there might be 2 4-year-olds. Oh, she said fucking, now I can say fucking. So imagine that.
No, that wouldn't be
destroyed-
bad, would it?
You destroyed a couple of lives.
No, you don't, by swearing.
The first thing here that I talk a lot in my teachings about frame control, sleight of mouth, covert hypnosis, is to take the position of the observer, comment on the situation instead of reacting to it. The one who is reacting to the situation is the victim, to some extent. The one who is commenting on it is the master, the leader, the one who controls it at the very least. This is something to take into consideration where you are emotionally too involved into a discussion. Just take a step back and notice what can you comment about that situation, that interaction, or can you comment about the behavior of the person, about what they just said? Can you comment about their looks? How do they behave? How do they look like? And there are many things you can do to redirect the attention of the person, especially if it is an attacker. If you are in a confrontation, you can always redirect the problem into something else. And the other thing about not reacting directly as a victim is to shift the perceptual position. It is a technical term from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and it means that whenever you communicate with somebody, it is a way of seeing it, 3 different perceptual positions. You yourself interacting is the first position. You respond to the other person as the main character in this story. There is a second perceptual position, which is the other person you are talking to. If you are interacting into your own name, so your name is Thomas, for example, and you say, me, Thomas, I think that, okay, you are just responding in the first position, and that is the most vulnerable position to be into in a confrontation, and in this flirtatious conversation, it is also not the best to be into, at least not in the beginning. Later, yes, but not in the beginning. The second position is the other person. If you can put yourself in the shoes of the other person, you can have much more ideas about what does that person think. What I enumerated as how do they behave, how do they look like, what do they say? Can you comment on what they say and what the way they behave? This requires a mental shift to put yourself in the shoes of the person you are interacting with, and that will allow you to figure out, oh, this is what they want, so I can frame my discussion in this way or that way because I know what they want is this. And there is a third position, which is what he does in this example. The third position is the environment around, all the other people, not me, not you, but all the other people around watching. And now he's pointing the discussion toward all the kids watching around. It is just all the different ways you can turn a conversation when you are stuck with somebody. How can you turn it into something else?
Think of all the kids.
There
Think of
aren't
the
any
influence.
kids watching.
Yeah.
They're 18 and over.
No, there might be 2 4-year-olds.
No, that wouldn't be
destroyed-
bad, would it?
You destroyed a couple of lives.
And this funny example can be explained in the sleight of mouth model by a consequence pattern. Consequence pattern means that you are pointing the discussion, the conversation, or the intent of your interlocutor into something that will happen in the future. Now he's planting a negative consequence into the discussion, still in a charming and playful way, of course. It is not like a confrontation, but it is a very clear example that you can always turn the conversation into another direction, and you can point to something else than the thing the person is trying to convince you about. The next really interesting behavior you are going to notice from this rock star is that he is comfortable with silence, also because he said in the beginning of the interview that he was tired. He woke up just like 20 minutes before the interview, which is quite common in rock stars when they are traveling the world and always playing music into stages somewhere. But also I have seen other interviews of him, and he is very comfortable with silence. Silences. The person in an environment who can be the most comfortable with silence while looking directly into the eyes of the other person is obviously the person running the interaction, or is the most likely to run the interaction.
Yeah.
You got something wrong there. The world gets
Yeah.
better with swearing. What?
You just started to behave like a lunatic. The worst thing. No. Hold on,
Okay.
sweetheart. We're
Shall
not
I
in a
ask
hurry.
the next question?
Yeah, why not?
Right now you can see a small twirling of the hair. You don't need to be a genius to, if you have just been hanging out with women a little bit, you know what it means. She's obviously attracted. But what is way more important about that is that he's aware of what she's doing. So he's not only comfortable with silence, he's also extremely outward focused. What I said, second position, you don't speak in your own words, you put yourself in the place of the other person so that you understand what they are feeling, what they are doing. And he's aware of what she's doing and he's commenting on it once again. The reason I am emphasizing on that is that every person I have seen who could not hold a frame, who could not be good at frame control or at flirting or at anything, that person was completely stuck into his own head all the time, he or she, by the way. It's all about getting yourself out of your own head and putting yourself in the other person's perspective to understand what they are feeling. The more you understand what they are feeling, the easier it is to persuade them, convince them, help them, if it is in therapy. Just doing something that is going outside of traditional boring conversations. As a conclusion to what you can do and can apply from that kind of behaviors and mastery of seduction or flirtatious behaviors or frame control is first of all to comment instead of react. There are moments where you just need to react because maybe the person is implying yourself directly and you would need to answer directly, but it is interesting to have this plethora of different ways you can answer into a conversation. So when you can comment on what the person said instead of reacting to it. So if the person tells you, oh, you're too short, or I don't like black guys, if you are black, for example, you may say, okay, where did you learn to not like people like me? When did you learn that? Can I know, out of curiosity, how did you know people like me were bad? You know, you are commenting on what she says instead of reacting to it like, oh, no, I'm different. That is really a victim mentality to always overreact. Whereas if you comment on what they say or what they do, it is way easier to control the frame and to flirt, negotiate, whatever you want to do if you're in sales, in dating, or in any situation. And the last one is to be more aware of your interlocutor, which is part of the perceptual positions idea, but I want to focus on this one. Be more aware, get out of your own head and be more aware of what's happening in front of you. If you have trouble to really focus clearly on the person in front of you, you can imagine that whenever you look into the eyes of the person talking to you, you stay aware of what's behind. Right now, if I put my hands like that, obviously you see my hands from your peripheral vision. You don't really need to look at my hands to see them. Now look past my hands, what is behind them. And if I remove my hands, you can still look at what is behind me, whereas you still focus on my eyes, or my face at least. That is how you get out of your own head. If you do that as you interact with somebody, you will pick way more subtle cues, body language, everything that this person is giving off, instead of just staying stuck into your own head with, what do I say next? What should I say? You will be more focused on the person in front of you, and even just right now I'm looking at the camera but I see what is behind. It is just a natural exercise to practice in your day-to-day conversations, and you will become way better at it. If you want to learn much more about that and master it in your daily conversations, you have a manual, and maybe from there you will be a video course, I don't know, but for now you can click on the link in the description and you will learn much more about that.